The rain had just stopped when Captain Daniel Cross walked into his warehouse. The place smelled of metal, oil, and wet concrete. He owned one of the biggest human supply depots on the alien planet Varus 9, a world where humans were rare, respected, and sometimes feared. His workers were aliens from different races, all hired to help run shipments across the galaxy. For months, Daniel had noticed something wrong. Every week, crates went missing. Expensive ones filled with rare minerals and tech parts. Yet no alarm was triggered. No camera caught anything. It was as if the goods just vanished. He blamed the system, the scanners, the trade network, but deep inside, he knew someone was stealing from him. That evening, as lightning flashed across the dark purple sky, Daniel locked the gates and decided to check the inventory himself. He walked between tall stacks of cargo, scanning each label with his wrist device. Numbers didn't match. His heart sank. Someone had stolen again just last night. He kicked a metal crate in anger. "Enough of this," he shouted. Then he heard a soft voice behind him. "Captain Cross?" Daniel turned. Standing near the shadows was a young alien girl, maybe 16. Her skin shimmered silver under the warehouse lights, her large eyes glowing faint blue. She wore a torn worker uniform, clearly one of the low-rank helpers. "What are you doing here?" Daniel asked, his tone sharp. The girl hesitated. "Sir, I came to warn you." Daniel frowned. "Warn me about what?" The girl stepped closer, her eyes darting nervously around. "Someone's stealing from you," she whispered. "Every night," Daniel froze. "You saw it?" She nodded quickly. "Yes, I cleaned the lower bays. I see the shadows." They moved the crates into the waste tunnel. Then a black transport picks them up. He stepped closer. "Who are they?" "Which workers?" The alien girl's hands trembled. "I can't say, sir. If they find out I told you, they'll kill me. Please, just be careful." Before Daniel could ask more, the girl ran off into the darkness, disappearing between the cargo stacks. He stood there, stunned. His heart pounded. Could this strange alien girl be telling the truth? Or was it some kind of trick? Still, something about her eyes, honest, afraid, made him believe her. The next morning, Daniel arrived early. He watched his staff closely. There were 23 workers, reptilians, avians, insectoids, and only one other human. All busy, all pretending nothing was wrong. But Daniel noticed things now. The glances, the quick whispers, the way they avoided certain areas. At noon, he walked into the main office and checked the cameras. Someone had erased footage again. Not the whole thing, only small pieces, perfect cuts. Whoever did this knew the system well. He clenched his fists. "They think I'm blind," he muttered. That night, he hid inside the warehouse after everyone left. He waited behind a stack of boxes, motionless, his pulse steady. Hours passed. Then faint sounds, footsteps, low voices. The sound of crates being moved. He peeked through the gap. 5 figures wearing black worksuits moving fast. They opened the wall panel and rolled crates into the hidden tunnel the alien girl had mentioned. Daniel pulled his pistol silently. But something made him stop. He recognized one of them. His own manager, Reich, a trusted alien who had worked for him for years. His stomach twisted. Betrayal. They finished loading and left through the tunnel. Daniel didn't follow. He waited till dawn. Then he called every single worker to the assembly hall. When they gathered, he looked at their faces one by one. "Someone's stealing from me," he said coldly. "From us. Last night I saw it." The room went silent. "I don't need to know who it was," Daniel continued. "Because I already know." Then to everyone's shock, he added, "You're all fired." "Every single one of you." Gasps filled the air. The workers shouted, protested, begged, but Daniel didn't listen. His face was stone. "Get off my property before sunset." As the crowd dispersed, Daniel stood alone in the silent hall. He knew it was a hard move, but it was the only way to stop the rot. Then he saw something near the doorway. The alien girl, the same one from last night, was watching him. She nodded once, almost proud, and then she whispered just loud enough for him to hear, "It's not over yet, Captain. The real thief hasn't shown himself." Daniel's blood ran cold. Who was she really? Daniel Cross didn't sleep that night. The alien girl's words echoed in his mind. The real thief hasn't shown himself. He kept thinking about her silver skin, her trembling hands, her frightened eyes. She looked too young, too innocent to be part of something dangerous. But her warning was clear. Someone bigger was behind it all. The warehouse was empty now. Every worker was gone. The air was silent except for the hum of power lines and the steady rhythm of rain on the roof. Daniel walked down the aisles alone, the sound of his boots echoing. He opened crates one by one. Everything seemed fine, but deep down he felt it, this wasn't over. He checked the logs again. Every shipment report, every cargo record. Then he saw something strange. A new delivery code appeared, signed off by him. But he hadn't approved any shipment for 3 days. Someone was using his access ID. Daniel's jaw tightened. That meant the thief had access to his private codes. Only 3 people ever had that clearance: himself, his late assistant, and the Central Trade Office. He leaned back in his chair. "No," he whispered. "It can't be them." Just then the lights flickered. A faint sound came from outside, metal scraping. Daniel drew his pistol and moved quietly toward the noise. The warehouse doors were half open. He stepped outside into the rain. Something shimmered in the shadows. The alien girl again. "You shouldn't be here," Daniel said. "I came to help," she replied softly. "They'll come tonight." "For the last shipment," Daniel frowned. "How do you know that?" She looked away. "Because I used to work for them." Daniel's heart skipped. "You what?" "I didn't want to," she said quickly. "They made me do things. They threatened my brother. I helped hide the crates before, but not anymore. They'll come for the last batch tonight, then leave the planet." Daniel studied her. The rain rolled down her silver cheeks like tears. He could see guilt and fear in her eyes. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra," she whispered. "All right, Lyra," Daniel said. "If you help me stop them, I'll protect you." "You have my word," Lyra nodded. "Then we must move fast." "They're coming soon." They went back inside, sealing the doors quietly. Lyra showed him the hidden path, the waste tunnel that ran under the floor connecting to the outer port. Daniel set traps there, small explosives that could block the exit. Then they climbed up to the control deck above the storage floor. Hours passed. Midnight came. The warehouse slept in silence. Then faint footsteps again, 3 this time. Figures dressed in black slipped through the side gate. They moved with precision, not workers, soldiers. Lyra grabbed Daniel's arm. "That's them," she whispered. "But the one in the middle, he's not from here." Daniel aimed his scanner. The middle figure's readings were off the charts. High energy levels, hidden armor. Then the man lifted his head and Daniel froze. It was Commander Varric, the alien trade inspector. The same man who had promised to investigate Daniel's missing goods weeks ago. Daniel whispered, "It was him all along." Lyra nodded. "He runs the smuggling ring. He uses the inspection authority to move stolen human tech through alien routes." Anger burned in Daniel's chest. All those weeks, all those stolen shipments. He'd been betrayed by someone wearing a government badge. He turned to Lyra. "We stop them now." They waited until the group reached the hidden tunnel. Daniel pressed a small button on his wrist device. A faint beep and then a thunderous boom. The tunnel collapsed, blocking their escape. Varric and his men turned in shock. "What? Who's there?" he shouted. Daniel stepped out from the shadows, gun raised. "It's over, Varric. I've got every recording, every shipment log, and your face caught on camera." Varric laughed coldly. "You think anyone will believe you, human? This planet runs on my word." "Then let's make your word worthless," Daniel said. Before Varric could respond, a beam of blue light hit his soldiers from behind. Daniel turned. Lyra was holding a plasma cutter, eyes glowing bright. "Stay away from him," she shouted. The soldiers moved fast, but Daniel was faster. Shots echoed. Sparks flew. The air filled with smoke and fire. When it was over, Varric's men were down. The commander lay on the ground, glaring up at Daniel. "This isn't over," Varric hissed. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Daniel leaned down. "Neither do you." He pressed the comms button on his wrist. "This is Captain Cross requesting immediate pickup." Evidence secured. Smuggler ring exposed. As sirens echoed across the night sky, Lyra sat beside him, breathing hard. "You saved me," she whispered. "No," Daniel said softly. "You saved us." But as the patrol ships arrived and the dawn light touched the horizon, a strange message appeared on Daniel's device. It wasn't from the local authorities, it was from Earth Command. "Captain Cross," it read. "Do not trust the girl. She's not who she claims to be." Daniel looked at Lyra. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the morning light. She smiled gently at him, and suddenly Daniel wasn't sure who the real enemy was anymore. The sun rose slowly over Varus 9, painting the sky gold and violet. Smoke still drifted from the collapsed tunnel behind the warehouse. Daniel Cross stood at the edge of the landing bay, watching the patrol ships take Varric and his captured men away. He should have felt relief, but instead his mind was heavy with one thought: the message from Earth Command. Do not trust the girl. He looked over at Lyra. She sat quietly on a crate, her silver skin catching the light, her eyes soft but distant. She looked tired, almost fragile. She noticed him staring and smiled faintly. You don't believe them, do you? She asked. Daniel hesitated. I don't know what to believe anymore. She lowered her gaze. I understand. Humans don't trust easily, but I told you the truth. I wanted to help. Daniel studied her carefully. Everything about her seemed sincere, but Earth Command didn't send random warnings. If they had flagged her, it meant she was connected to something bigger, something dangerous. Who are you really, Lyra? He asked quietly. She looked up at him, her voice calm. I already told you. I worked for Varric's people once. They used me. Daniel shook his head. No, you're more than that. The message from Earth Command said you're not who you claim to be. For a long moment, Lyra said nothing. Then she stood, walked closer, and whispered, Maybe they're right. Before Daniel could react, she raised her hand. A faint blue light flickered from her wrist. The small metal band she always wore unfolded into a holographic pattern, glowing with symbols he had never seen before. What is that? He demanded. It's my tracker, she said softly. Not from Varric's men. From the Directorate. Daniel froze. The Directorate was an alien intelligence network known for experimenting on human technology. If she was part of them, everything changed. Your Directorate? He asked slowly. I was, she said, but I escaped. They sent me to spy on human outposts, but when I saw what they were doing, hurting people, I couldn't do it anymore. So I ran, Daniel clenched his fists. And you ended up working here? She nodded, hiding. But Varric found me. He knew I had data the Directorate wanted. That's why they were stealing from you. Not for money, but to find me. Daniel took a deep breath. It all made sense now. The erased camera logs, the stolen shipments, the silence from local authorities. They weren't robbing him for profit. They were searching for her. What kind of data? He asked. Lyra looked around nervously. Blueprints. Human blueprints. The Directorate got them from an old Earth ship that crashed years ago near the border worlds. They were trying to rebuild something powerful, a human defense corps. If they finish it, they could copy human war tech and turn it against you. Daniel's blood ran cold. So they're building human weapons? Not just weapons, she said. They're building copies of you. Daniel stared at her. Copies of humans. Lyra nodded. Artificial versions. Obedient, loyal, built to fight their wars. The Directorate calls them echo soldiers. He took a step back, the truth sinking in. So you're saying they're trying to replace us? Yes, Lyra whispered. And I'm the only one who knows where their lab is. Daniel felt a surge of anger and fear. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Because I didn't know if you'd believe me, she said softly. And I wasn't sure if Earth Command would help, or destroy me to keep it secret. The silence between them was heavy. Rain started to fall again, pattering softly against the metal roof. Daniel finally said, If what you're saying is true, then we can't stay here. The Directorate won't stop until they find you. We need to reach orbit and send a full report to Earth Command. Lyra nodded. I can lead you to the relay station. But once we're there, they'll know we're coming. They'll send hunters. Daniel holstered his weapon. Then we'll be ready. They moved quickly through the empty streets of the trading zone, blending into the morning crowds. Daniel's ship, the Resolute, waited on the far side of the port, an old but strong human transport vessel. As they approached, Lyra stopped suddenly. Her eyes flickered with fear. They're here. Daniel followed her gaze. Across the landing bay, 3 tall figures in black armor were walking toward them. Their armor shimmered like liquid metal, and their faces were covered by masks. The air around them buzzed with static energy. Echo soldiers, Lyra whispered. Daniel drew his gun. Get to the ship now, they ran. Blaster fire erupted behind them, burning holes in the ground. Alarms screamed across the port. Daniel fired back, hitting one soldier square in the chest, but the figure barely slowed down. Go, he shouted. Lyra sprinted up the ramp of the Resolute as Daniel turned for one last shot. The ship's engines roared to life. He jumped aboard, hitting the control panel. The ramp closed just as another blast hit the hull. As they rose into the stormy sky, Daniel looked back at the burning city below. The Directorate had found them, and now, the real war had just begun. The ship Resolute cut through the storm clouds like a silver arrow, lightning flashing across its wings. Inside the cockpit, alarms blared and red lights flashed across the control board. Daniel gripped the steering handles tightly while Lyra worked the side console, fingers flying over the glowing keys. "They're still following us," Daniel said, glancing at the radar. 3 dots moved closer, fast. "They're Echo soldiers," Lyra said, her voice tense. "Their ships can track heat signatures through storms." Daniel frowned. "Then we'll give them something else to follow." He slammed a switch and flares burst from the back of the ship. Bright lights filled the clouds, confusing the sensors behind them. For a moment it worked. The dots vanished. Silence filled the cabin except for the hum of the engines. Lyra sighed in relief. "We bought some time." Daniel leaned back, trying to catch his breath. His shirt was soaked with sweat. "You need to tell me everything now, Lyra. If Earth Command warned me about you, there must be more to this." She hesitated, then said softly, "There is. The Directorate didn't just build Echo soldiers. They created a control code, something that links all artificial soldiers together. One mind to control them all." Daniel turned to her. "Like a hive?" She nodded. "Yes. They wanted to use it to command human-shaped soldiers on hundreds of worlds at once. But there was a problem. They couldn't make it stable. Then they found human neural maps inside an old Earth ship. They needed a human to finish it. And that's me?" Daniel said. "No," Lyra said, shaking her head. "They wanted someone like you. A commander with combat history, emotional intelligence, and leadership traits. They collected data from your missions, your voice, your reports. You were the template." Daniel's stomach dropped. "You're saying they built Echo soldiers based on me?" "Yes," she whispered. "They copied your neural pattern. Varric used it to make the first generation, the one chasing us right now. He thinks like you." Daniel stared ahead, his mind spinning. The idea of his own face, his own instincts turned into weapons. It was unbearable. "How do we stop them?" Lyra hesitated. "There's only one way. We destroy the control hub. Where is it?" "In orbit around Kiva Prime," she said. "Inside an asteroid base disguised as a mining station. I can take you there. But once we're in, there's no turning back." Daniel nodded slowly. "We go there. We end it." The ship shuddered as a blue blast hit the rear thrusters. Daniel cursed and pulled up the view screen. The enemy ships had returned, sleek, black, and silent. They fired again, and one beam barely missed the cockpit. They locked on again. Lyra shouted, "Hang on!" Daniel twisted the control lever hard, diving into the clouds. The ship spun through the storm, thunder roaring around them. He pulled every trick he knew. Sharp turns, power cuts, reverse thrust. But the enemies didn't give up. Lyra's voice trembled. "They're not giving up. They'll keep chasing until we're dead or captured." Daniel thought fast. "There's one way to lose them. The canyon fields," her eyes widened. "That's suicide." "Maybe, but it's the only way." He angled the ship downward, breaking through the clouds. Below, giant canyons stretched across the desert like open wounds, filled with magnetic storms and metallic dust. The sensors went wild. The Resolute plunged into the maze. Rocks scraped the hull. Lightning cracked between canyon walls. The pursuers followed, firing again and again. Daniel dodged, twisted, rolled. The ship barely cleared the edges, sparks flying. One enemy ship clipped a wall and exploded into a bright fireball. Another crashed seconds later. Only one remained. Daniel gritted his teeth. "Hold steady." The last Echo ship dived right behind them, matching every move. Daniel cut the main thruster suddenly, letting the enemy overshoot. Then he fired the main cannon, one perfect shot. The beam hit the enemy's rear engine, tearing it apart. The ship exploded in a blinding flash. Lyra cheered. "You did it." Daniel exhaled hard, steering the ship upward again. The storm faded behind them, revealing the stars. He looked at Lyra. "Set a course for Kiva Prime." Lyra nodded, fingers moving across the console. "Coordinates locked." "But Daniel, there's something else you need to know." He raised an eyebrow. "What now?" She looked away. "The Directorate didn't just copy your neural pattern for the Echo soldiers. They copied mine too." Daniel froze. "Yours?" "Yes," she whispered. "I'm not fully organic, Daniel. I'm part Echo, Half human pattern, half machine. That's why Earth Command doesn't trust me. Daniel's heart pounded. He stared at her glowing eyes, her calm voice, her soft expression. Everything he thought he knew about her twisted into confusion. So, he said slowly, "What are you, Lyra?" She looked at him with sadness and strength in her voice. "I'm what the Directorate wanted to build next, a bridge between humans and machines. But I chose my side, Daniel. I chose you." Outside, the stars shimmered like cold fire. The Resolute accelerated into deep space, leaving Varus 9 behind. But far ahead, in the dark void around Kiva Prime, the Directorate waited, and they knew Daniel Cross was coming. The stars stretched like silver rivers as the Resolute entered deep space. The hum of its engines was steady, but Daniel's mind was far from calm. He couldn't stop staring at Lyra, who sat quietly beside him, her silver eyes glowing softly in the dark cockpit. She had just told him the truth, or at least, what she called the truth. She was half human pattern, half machine, part of the Echo Project. The very thing they were trying to destroy. Daniel wanted to believe her, but his heart wrestled with doubt. He had trusted her once and nearly lost everything. Now she claimed she was part of the same system they were fighting. He spoke finally, breaking the silence. "If you're half Echo, how do I know you won't turn on me?" Lyra turned her head slowly, her voice calm but sad. "Because I remember being human." Daniel frowned. "You were never human." "I know," she said softly, "but I remember it anyway." "That's what they gave me. Their mistake. They copied a human's emotions into me, and now I feel everything. Guilt, fear, hope, and loyalty." Daniel didn't reply. He looked back at the stars. Trust was hard in his world, especially now. After hours of silent flight, Lyra pointed at the navigation screen. "We're close to Kiva Prime. The asteroid field begins just ahead." Daniel peered through the front glass. Huge rocks floated in the black void, spinning slowly, their surfaces covered in metal panels and strange glowing lights. One of them wasn't like the others. It had a faint structure built into its side. Towers, hangars, defense grids. "That's it," Lyra said quietly. "The Directorate base." Daniel narrowed his eyes. "Looks quiet." "It won't be," she whispered. They drifted closer, using only minimal power to avoid detection. Lyra's hands trembled slightly as she activated the stealth shield. "Once we're inside, we'll have to move fast. The control hub is deep in the core. If we destroy it, all Echo soldiers will lose their link. They'll shut down." "And if we fail?" Daniel asked. She looked at him with sad honesty. "Then the galaxy will fall to an army that thinks like you, and obeys no one." That thought chilled Daniel more than space itself. They landed in a dark maintenance bay hidden under the station's outer shell. The moment the ramp lowered, cold air rushed in, filled with the metallic smell of machine oil and something else, something alive. They moved quietly through long, dim corridors. Strange sounds echoed, mechanical clicks, low humming, and whispers that didn't belong to any living being. Lyra led the way. "Stay close. Security here is mostly automated." They passed rows of glass pods. Inside each pod floated a figure, pale, human-shaped, motionless. Hundreds of them. Their faces were blank, their bodies perfect copies of real people. Daniel stopped, horrified. "These are Echo soldiers?" "Yes," Lyra said. "All asleep, waiting for activation." Daniel stepped closer. One of them looked exactly like him. Same jawline, same eyes, same scars. He froze. "That's me." Lyra lowered her gaze. "They call it the Prime pattern. You were their first model." Daniel stared at the clone's face. It looked peaceful, innocent even, but he knew what it could become, a weapon without conscience. "Let's move," he said coldly. They reached a control chamber filled with glowing orbs and shifting holograms. At its center stood a tall crystal pillar pulsing with blue light, the heart of the control hub. Lyra stepped forward. "That's it, the main link. We destroy that, and the entire network dies. Daniel raised his weapon, aiming at the crystal, but suddenly the doors sealed shut with a loud clang. Red lights filled the room. A voice echoed from above, deep, cold, and familiar. "Captain Daniel Cross," it said. "You've finally arrived." Daniel spun around. "Who's there?" From the shadows stepped a figure in black armor, the same face as Daniel, but colder, sharper. Lyra gasped. "It's the Echo Alpha." The clone smiled. "You can't stop what's already perfect. I'm you. Without weakness, without doubt. The Directorate doesn't need humans anymore, they have me." Daniel raised his gun. "You're nothing but a broken copy." The clone tilted its head. "And yet, I survived everything you did." Before Daniel could fire, the clone moved, fast as lightning. The two men crashed into each other, weapons clashing, sparks flying. Lyra ran to the console, typing commands to overload the hub. Alarms blared. Daniel and his clone fought across the platform, each strike matched perfectly. It was like fighting his own reflection. Every move he made, the clone predicted. Every hit he tried, the clone countered. "You can't win," the clone hissed. "You're human. You tire. You feel pain." Daniel gritted his teeth, blood running down his face. "Maybe, but I also feel love, and that's something you'll never have." He caught the clone off guard and slammed his weapon into its chest. Sparks burst as the clone stumbled back. Lyra shouted, "Daniel, it's overloading!" He ran to her side as the hub began to crack, light pouring out. The clone tried to rise, but Daniel pulled Lyra toward the exit. The room exploded behind them, light swallowing everything. They barely made it to the ship before the station shook apart. As they blasted away, debris scattered across the void like fireflies. Lyra looked back, eyes wide. "We did it, it's destroyed." Daniel nodded, though deep inside he wasn't sure. Because as the wreck burned, a faint blue light flickered inside the debris, alive. And somewhere, far beyond Keva Prime, a new voice whispered through the stars, "You can destroy one hub, Captain Cross, but you cannot destroy the pattern." The stars around Kiva Prime were fading behind them when Daniel finally allowed himself to breathe. The asteroid base was gone, reduced to drifting debris. Inside the Resolute, silence filled the air except for the hum of damaged engines. The ship's panels flickered and faint smoke rose from the wiring. Lyra sat in the co-pilot seat, her silver eyes dim. Her arm was badly burned, the synthetic skin torn away to reveal faint blue light beneath. Daniel bandaged it carefully, his hands shaking. "You shouldn't have gone back for me," she whispered. "I don't leave people behind," he said softly. "Even the half-metal kind." She gave a weak smile. "You're terrible at jokes." He smiled faintly back, but his eyes were heavy. Outside the window, the remains of the Directorate base glimmered like dying stars. He wanted to believe it was over. But in his heart, he knew better. Suddenly, a soft tone beeped on the console. A message, coming through encrypted human channels. Daniel frowned and opened it. The holographic screen flashed with the seal of Earth Command. "Captain Cross," said a woman's calm voice. "Your mission is incomplete. The Directorate's central hub was only one of 7. You've triggered the network's awakening. The others will come online soon." Daniel's eyes widened. 7 hubs? The message continued. "You are ordered to report back to Earth immediately. Do not engage further." Then the transmission ended. No coordinates, no help, just silence. Lyra looked at him. "They knew, didn't they?" Daniel nodded slowly. "They always knew. They used me to find the first hub." Her voice trembled. "Then, they wanted this to happen?" He stared at the dark stars. "Maybe they did. Maybe Earth wanted to see how far the Directorate could go before stepping in." The idea made his stomach twist. Humanity, using its own kind as bait. Was that how far they had fallen? Before he could answer, the ship's lights dimmed again. The radar pinged. Something massive was approaching from behind. Daniel turned to the window and froze. A huge shadow loomed in space. A battleship, black, silent, larger than anything he'd seen before. Its hull shimmered with strange blue patterns, almost alive. Lyra gasped. That's not Directorate designed, that's human. The ship's insignia came into focus. ECS Vanguard. Daniel's chest tightened. It's one of ours. But then he noticed something wrong. The Vanguard wasn't broadcasting any active signal. No crew response, no lights in the habitation rings. It's dead, he whispered. A ghost ship. The Resolute drifted closer. The Vanguard floated like a sleeping giant, its hull scarred, pieces missing. As they approached the docking bay, Daniel's comm crackled again. Welcome home, Captain Cross. The voice made his blood freeze. It was his own voice. Lyra's eyes widened. That's you. Daniel didn't speak. He guided the ship toward the bay, docking carefully. When the ramp opened, cold air hit them like ice. The inside of the Vanguard was dark. Only emergency lights flickered along the corridors. They stepped inside slowly, weapons ready. The air smelled like metal and dust. Echoes of footsteps bounced through the empty halls, though no one was there. Lyra whispered, I can feel the signal. The echo network. It's active here. They followed the faint hum down to the command deck. The door opened with a hiss, and there, in the middle of the bridge, stood another figure. It was Daniel. Or something that looked exactly like him, but older, colder. His eyes glowed blue. I told you, the figure said. You cannot destroy the pattern. Daniel aimed his weapon. Who are you? I am the first, the clone replied. The true cross. You are the copy. Lyra grabbed Daniel's arm. Don't listen to him, it's a trick. But the clone smiled. Is it? Look around you, Captain. Who built this ship? Who ordered your missions? Every choice you made was calculated. To lead you back to me. Daniel's mind raced. The memories, the missions, the orders, the missing months, they all blurred together. Could it be true? Was he the copy? No, he said firmly. I remember my life, my family, my command. The clone stepped closer. Memories can be programmed. The Directorate learned that from humans themselves. Lyra shouted, Stop! You're lying! The clone turned to her, eyes narrowing. You think he's real? He's another experiment like you. We are both echoes. The only difference is, I accepted it, Daniel fired. The blast hit the clone square in the chest, sending sparks across the bridge. But when the smoke cleared, the clone was still standing unharmed. Your bullets can't kill what's already dead, the clone said coldly. The pattern exists beyond flesh, he raised his hand. The ship shuddered as lights across the deck turned bright blue. Holographic figures began appearing. Dozens of Daniel's identical copies surrounding them. Lyra screamed, They're activating the backup network. Daniel's pulse raced. He looked at her and said, Then we destroy it again, no matter what it takes. He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the power core chamber. The hallways were filling with echoes, each one turning their heads in perfect unison, their eyes glowing brighter. Lyra whispered, trembling, Daniel. What if he's right? What if you are the copy? He looked at her, voice steady. Then I'll prove I'm real the only way I can, by choosing to fight. They ran deeper into the heart of the ship, shadows chasing them. Behind them, the echoes moved like ghosts, whispering the same words over and over. You cannot destroy the pattern. You are part of it. The corridors of the Vanguard pulsed with blue light. Every screen, every panel, every door hummed with the same eerie rhythm, alive, intelligent, watching. Daniel and Lyra ran through the winding halls, the echoes of their footsteps mixing with distant mechanical whispers. Behind them, dozens of glowing figures moved in perfect sync, each one a flawless copy of Daniel Cross. Their voices overlapped, calm, but haunting. You are not real. You are part of the pattern. Lyra gripped Daniel's hand tightly. They're closing in. I know, he said through clenched teeth. The power core's ahead. If we reach it, we can overload the ship. And destroy everything, she said quietly. That's the point. They reached the engine chamber, massive and circular, its heart pulsing like a living organ. Energy arcs leapt between metal spires, glowing brighter with every passing second. In the center stood a massive sphere of liquid light, the core of the Vanguard. Daniel looked around. If we overload it, the entire ship and the network goes down. Lyra hesitated. And us? He met her eyes. We don't walk away. Before she could reply, the doors hissed open. The Echo Alpha, the older, colder version of Daniel, stepped through, surrounded by holographic clones flickering like ghosts. His voice was calm, almost gentle. You can't win, Captain. You destroy this ship and you destroy yourself. Because you are me. Daniel aimed his weapon. If that's true, then I'm not worth saving. The clone tilted his head. You think this is courage? It's just programming, a predictable end for a flawed design. We were never meant to live, only to repeat. Lyra stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. You're wrong. Humans don't repeat, they evolve. That's what makes them stronger than any machine. The clone's glowing eyes shifted toward her. You speak of evolution, yet you are part of us. The bridge between human and machine. You could lead the next generation if you stop running. Lyra shook her head. I'd rather die human than live as your puppet. The clone's expression hardened. So be it. He raised his arm and energy bolts filled the room. Daniel shoved Lyra aside, diving behind a console. Sparks exploded around them. He fired back, hitting one holographic soldier after another. But for every one that vanished, 2 more appeared. Lyra crawled to the central console. Her fingers flew across the glowing keys. I can overload the reactor manually, but I need time. Daniel covered her, firing again and again. The clone advanced slowly, unaffected by the blasts. His armor absorbed every hit. You can't kill an idea, the clone said coldly. You can't destroy the pattern. Daniel's weapon overheated. Smoke rose from its barrel. He dropped it and charged forward, tackling the clone. They crashed to the ground, fists flying, metal clanging. They were perfectly matched, every strike mirrored, every move identical. It was like fighting a reflection in a broken mirror. You're nothing, Daniel growled. The clone smiled faintly. I'm everything you could have been if you weren't weak. Daniel slammed his fist into the clone's face again and again. Weakness is what makes me human. He grabbed a loose power cable and jammed it into the clone's chest. A surge of energy flashed through the room. The clone screamed, his body convulsing as the circuits inside him burned. Now, Lyra! Daniel shouted. Lyra pressed the final key. The reactor roared to life, light exploding through the chamber. The clone reached out weakly. You can't stop the pattern. It's inside you too. Then his voice was lost in the roar of energy. Daniel grabbed Lyra and pulled her toward the escape shaft. The floor shook violently. The ship's walls cracked open, blue fire spilling out. They climbed up the shaft, fighting against the blast wind. Halfway up, Lyra slipped. Daniel caught her hand, but she looked into his eyes and shook her head. Daniel, if the network's in you, the explosion won't destroy it. It'll spread through you. You have to stay. No, he shouted. We finish this together. Tears formed in her glowing eyes. You gave me humanity, Daniel. Let me give you peace. Before he could stop her, she let go. He screamed her name as she fell back into the blinding light below. The explosion consumed everything, light, sound, time, then silence. When Daniel opened his eyes again, he was floating in space. The Resolute's emergency pod drifted quietly among the wreckage. The Vanguard was gone, nothing but fragments burning in orbit. He touched his chest, feeling his heart still beating. He was alive, but part of him felt empty, hollow. Then a faint sound, a soft voice from his comm. Daniel? He froze. Lyra? The voice was weak, distant, but real. I'm here. Somewhere in the network. I held the explosion back, but I can't hold it forever. Daniel's throat tightened. You saved everyone? No, she whispered. We did. The signal faded slowly until only static remained. Daniel looked out at the stars. The war wasn't over. Somewhere, parts of the pattern still lived, but so did humanity. And as long as one human heart still beat free, the machines would never win. He leaned back in his seat, whispering into the empty sky. Rest now. Lyra, I'll finish what we started. Outside, the stars shimmered brighter, like tiny echoes of her light scattered across the universe.